I don't always want to be with my kids all the time. It does take a lot of energy, but I know that, like I said before, we only have them for a moment and that they're gone on their own. So I gotta soak it up as much as I can. But I want my kids to remember Dad being there, and that's the most important thing. I know that being in your healthiest state, being in the best version of yourself is gonna allow you to be able to give more to your children, to your family, to your wife, to everyone around you. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I'm here to help you fathers and help you understand that your health is important. Welcome back, guys, another podcast episode. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you guys the experience that I had watching my children for the very first time while my wife was gone on a yoga retreat. It was a little bit nerve-wracking, not going to lie. But before we get started, if you don't know who I am, my name is TimBohner. This is the men's podcast. Let's jump into it. All right, so the days leading up to watching my kids, I try not to think about it because, some dads definitely get a little nervous before the wife leaves because we normally don't watch our kids like our spouses do. So I was a little bit nervous because it's been a while since I've been with the kids. Actually, this was my very first time staying overnight with them alone for a long period of time. So my wife was gone about a day and a half, and she didn't get back till Saturday night around 10:30 p.m. So I was watching them from Friday afternoon all the way to Saturday evening. And like I said, the days prior to that, I was a little nervous, but I don't like to think about it. Whenever I have something coming up that's a big event, I don't put too much focus on it because I don't want to be in that anxious state. So I have to not just think about it. I have to come up to the situation and deal with it head on and experience those moments. And that's how I handle things. And I don't know if that's the best way to handle things, but that's how I do it. I don't want too much stress in my life. And a lot of people get too worried when something big comes around that they just get too overwhelmed and then they just start breaking down. So for me, I'm a stress-free kind of guy. Don't like the drama, don't like any of that kind of stuff, especially in the household with the kids. So I just don't think about it until the day of. The day came, my wife had to drive all the way down south towards Evansville, I think what it was, about 3 hours away. So she was gone. So I decided to figure out what I was going to do. That's the first thing I actually did was, my wife kind of helped me. She's like, you may want to start having a plan for what you guys want to do for the weekend. And I'm like, nah. And then I thought about it. I was like, okay, yeah, she's right. She's always right. But I had decided to figure out what I was going to have planned for the weekend. And one thing I don't like to do is have expectations with the kids, because someone that has dealt with trauma as a kid, when I start losing control, that's when I start noticing the anger come up within me. So I realized that your trauma will affect you in your adult life unless you figure out how to handle it, understand your patterns, understand your tendencies, knowing that when I lose control in a situation, that's when the anger starts to trigger. Because when I was a kid, I grew up in an abusive household. I seen my dad abuse my mom, abuse us. So I remember a lot of chaos, so much chaos growing up. So when I transitioned to be a father, that's when it really was revealed to me that I don't like chaos and I don't like losing control. And my son being a toddler, you can't control a toddler. You cannot control a toddler. So at his early stages of his life, I really felt that anger rise up, and I didn't even know it because most of my life I have been able to keep my anger controlled. And like I said, when my son was born, that's when it really showed that the chaos created that anger. So that was when he was just a little infant. It started just revealing itself more and more and more. And I'm a man of faith. I believe in God, and I believe that He has been the one that has helped me through this. And I realized that I asked God, why do I have this much anger in my life? Why do I have so much anger that I carry even towards my son? And He revealed to me it was because that when I was a kid and I seen what I seen, So I started working on recognizing those patterns, recognizing the habits or the things that happen that start snowballing and creating that anger. So I've been able to see the growth within myself, and I'm very proud of myself for overcoming this. It's not fully overcome. I don't think it'll ever overcome. A lot of the trauma that we deal with as men stay with us for the rest of our life, but we have to cope with it. We have to learn how to process through it. And that's what it comes down to, is learning how to manage the stress, learning how to manage your trauma. So my daughter, she was such a big help. She's more aware. She's very smart, very intelligent, and I just seen her step up, and it just made, as a dad, you are very proud. You see how much maturity you see your daughter have, and I saw it this past weekend. So she wasn't hard at all to watch. It was mostly my son, because at bedtime he is very stubborn. He doesn't like to be told what to do. He doesn't like no. He's literally me. So just in a younger version. So that was more of what I was concerned about, was the bedtime routine, because mom puts him to bed almost every single night, not gonna lie. That's something that I don't like to do, because that's another thing with the trauma. It triggers me when I start losing control, and I can't control my son because he's a toddler. So I try to avoid that situation, because I know what it causes, and it's just me yelling. I don't want to be yelling at my kids. So that's something that I discovered. So I knew that was going to be a challenge. There was a lot of prayer with it, because it is hard. It's very hard to try to do it on your own. So for all those single dads out there doing it by themselves, I applaud you, because it isn't easy. And having that second person is very helpful. It takes the load off of you. So I'm very grateful that I have my wife. I'm very grateful for my marriage. Very blessed to have my family. Anyways, back to that weekend. I had the day off. It was a Friday afternoon. I was at home working. Picked up my son when my daughter got home from the bus. We ended up picking him up from daycare at around 4:30. Headed to go to eat. And we ate at Culver's. Normally we don't eat things like that, maybe once a week, because honestly, I tried to avoid the fast food restaurants. I try to avoid all that processed food, because I have to maintain my health. I have to make sure that I am setting the example for my kids and living a healthy lifestyle. So on occasion, we go out to eat at least once a weekend, enjoy some of our favorite foods. Because my wife was gone, we decided to go to Culver's, had some delicious food, the butter burger, which was my favorite. And it just felt weird, not gonna lie. Like when I walked into the Culver's with my kids, I just felt like I wasn't a dad, because I don't feel like a dad. I don't look like a dad. Most dads have that dad bod, and it's true. That's just the truth. And I'm someone that's a short guy, having 2 kids, fit, lean. I look very young. I didn't feel like a dad, so I definitely felt off. Definitely felt like I wasn't in that role. So I just got a lot of stares when I walked in with my 2 kids, and my daughter being almost as tall as me. It just made it a little worse. But through that process, I had to remember, hey man, you're creating this fear, this anxiousness over you. You got to just release it. You have to walk in love, which I know is corny, very corny, but you have to walk in love. Like, you can't care what people think, because you're just preventing yourself from really living and who you are and who you're meant to be, because you're allowing people's opinions to matter, which it shouldn't matter. You're with your kids, you're present in the moment. That's how it should be. You should just be in those moments with them. So I had to just refocus my mind, refocus my thoughts, and just not care, and just make sure that I'm present with my kids and that I am being a good dad. So we went in there, had some good food. And the reason why we went from daycare to Culver's is because I couldn't allow my son to come back home and look for mama, because mama was gone. So, and it would have just created more chaos. It would have created more stress on me. So we wanted to make sure that we kept him busy throughout the afternoon so he wouldn't miss mama. So after Culver's, we went and hit the park. So we went to the park, got his energy out, because honestly, he has so much energy, and if he doesn't expend his energy, he's not going to go to sleep. So that's one thing that I realized, that how can I make sure that his energy is expended so that I'm not having to try to put him in bed and he's just not going to sleep. So that was one huge thing that I realized, that if you're trying to manage kids, they have high energy and you have to learn how to expend it in the right way. So it's through exercise, through playing in the park, it's through, running around with them. And if you don't know how to manage your kids' energy, then it's just gonna be more stress on you. You gotta know that our kids have a lot of energy and they need to be doing things. So that's why I went to the park with them and got home and hung out and watched some TV. And that evening, he actually went to bed pretty decently. He slept in the bed in between Sissy and I, and he slept like a log. So that plan worked. I was happy. Got up the next morning and I kept with my same routine, which was just my early wake up time, which was about 4:30. And then I did my normal stuff that I do, which is my meditation, my burpees. Might have done cold shower or not. I don't do cold showers every day, but sometimes I do, because it just helps me raise my energy, raise my positivity, so that I can be a good dad to my kids before they wake up. So that's why I woke up early again. And that day we actually went to the gym together. I didn't change my routine. I knew just because my wife was gone, I knew it was going to be more busier in the morning, but I couldn't take the gym off because I know that I still have to maintain my health. I can't make the excuse I'm watching my kids. They had daycare there, so it worked out just fine. And I was able to go to the gym with them, got their stuff ready, and I was able to get a good solid leg workout. Got done. They got to play and expend more energy there. So we got back from the gym and then we hung out for a little bit, and I realized that the kids were getting a little antsy around lunchtime. So my son was pretty preoccupied with morning cartoons and stuff like that. So it wasn't too bad in the morning, but we were able to I was able to make some food for them. And I realized that it was time for them to expend that energy as well. So we went to our next adventure, which was Sky Zone. Everyone loves Sky Zone. And we were all excited. We got our socks on, headed out the door. Again, I felt those feelings of like, man, I don't feel like a dad. I feel off. But again, I had to refocus my thoughts and my energy, and remember that you're with your kids. That's all that matters. Who cares, right? So we ended up playing around, jumping around all over the place. And the whole time I was stressed out because my son was just bouncing around the whole entire area. I was afraid that he was going to get hit. And I'm just like, clenching up. I'm like, every time he'd run around. And then my daughter, she was playing around and bouncing and climbing and all that too as well. So she was getting her energy expended. So we had a blast, and I enjoyed just being in there with my kids. Like, we were all bouncing around. I just saw so many dads on the benches. I'm just like, why are you sitting on the bench? Go play with your kids. Like, I don't understand why you're on your phone, not watching your kids. I'm like, I want to be involved in what they're doing. And part of it had to do with some of these men weren't in the best shape. And that's why it's so important as dads that we remain in a healthy state so that we can run around with our kids, so we can have the energy to play and jump and do all these things. So we don't just work out for our physique, but we work out so that we can be mobile, so that we can be able to get underneath things and climb around with my kids. And that's why I work out. And I was able to do that while the other dads were just sitting on the bench. I was just disappointed because that's how it is now these days, is that dads are not intentional. Dads aren't present. Dads are just doing their own thing and not paying attention to the kids. And I think that's where we're lacking right now, is that the dads are either have no energy to play with the kids or are just too busy to be with the kids. And for me, I know that it's important for me to be there for my kids and make sure that I am in those moments with them, because we're not going to get those moments back with them. My daughter's going to be 18 and 8 years now, and she's going to be gone out of the house, and we won't see her as much. We won't be able to have those nights where we're all hanging out and we're all cuddling and we're all just watching the movie. We're not going to be able to hear the chaos when the kids are around. Those are the things that we won't never get back. And I really cherish that, because I know how fast the time has gone with our kids. Eli was just a little baby not too long ago. And Lydia, when I first met her, she was 5 years old. And now she's 10 years old, acting like she's 18. So it goes by so quick, and it makes me so sad to see that, because it just seems like time is slipping away. And it's my duty as a dad to make sure that I'm in there as much as I can, and to make sure that I am there teaching them and instructing and preparing them for their adult life. And I do my very best to make sure I do that. And I'm very proud of being the dad that does it, that's in there with them. And I'm thankful for my health, which allows me to be able to do that. And that's the biggest key, guys, is that you have to make sure that your health is in check. You got to make sure that you're there for your kids, because that's huge. They need their dad. They need the advice. They need your presence. So I was very grateful that I got that weekend with them. And my wife's gonna be gone in another couple days, or a couple weekends in the future coming up. And I get to be with my kids. I get to hang out with them again. I don't always want to be with my kids all the time. It does take a lot of energy, but I know that, like I said before, we only have them for a moment, and that they're gone on their own. So I gotta soak it up as much as I can. So I'm excited to be able to hang out with them again. I'm excited to go and figure out what else we're gonna do, and it's gonna be a blast. But I want my kids to remember dad being there, and that's the most important thing. And I know that being in your healthiest state, being in the best being the best version of yourself is going to allow you to be able to give more to your children, to your family, to your wife, to everyone around you. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I'm here to help you fathers and help you understand that your health is important. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, achieve your highest potential. Don't wait to get started on your health. Get started right now. Visit 317wellness.com or reach out to me right here, right now. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.